Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, author of fantasy, romance, and romantic fantasy. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Today is, say it with me, Friday! Yay! 11, 12, 21. Lots of ones and twos. I don't know what that means, but it's been a heck of a week, and I am ready to be done with it. Um, Lots of stuff going on. But we shall get through this, hopefully in the best path possible. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. So, I am nearly done with reading Bright Familiar and getting all of those notes in. I did have to apologize profusely to Emily Ma, who I was reading for, that I will not have her book read in time tomorrow. Just a crazy week. I did get my flu shot. That's a positive, right? Got a flu shot. The cover for Gray Magic is done and ready, and I will release that next week. And getting the audiobook going. Lots of businessy things to do. My afternoon is booked with meetings. We are interviewing the new conference project manager for the Nebula Conference. Interviewed a couple of great candidates so far, a couple more this afternoon. So soon we'll have someone hired for that. That's going to be good. Last night we watched LoveHard, which is a new show on Netflix, I think. Has Jimmy O Young in it, who David and I both think is really funny. And he was great. He was so good. You guys, this is such a great movie. It is a Christmas romantic comedy that is funny and smart and does really fun send-ups of the tropes. The LoveHard is a mashup of the fact that his favorite Christmas movie is Love Actually, and her favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard, and they do argue about whether either one of them counts as a Christmas movie. And there's a great send-up at the end of it that's mashes up both movies, and it's fabulous, witty and wonderful. Yeah, we both really enjoyed it far more than we thought we would from looking at the opening. So that's definitely recommend. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And then the other thing is I have not ranted yet on here about the ending of Lucifer. And so I made it through all 6 seasons and finished watching the last episode and a half on Monday night. And I want to talk about it. So if you don't want to get spoiled on the Lucifer, the show, the full thing, the ending of the final season, then go away. Go with my blessing. This will not be on the final exam. And I promise not to say anything else interesting for the rest of the episode besides Lucifer. Okay? Have a great weekend if you're going. Bye, you guys. Are they gone? Okay. Let's talk about the ending for Lucifer. I ranted about this at Writer Coffee yesterday. Why does Hollywood always fucking do this? You get a couple, you finally get them together, and then they don't respect the fact that this is the beginning of their relationship. That when they finally get together, that is not the end. This is the beginning, and they want to be together. And they deprive us of that. And I call this like the, it's the same thing that happened with Luke and Leia. Not Luke and Leia, Jesus. Han Solo and Leia, when they brought back the final Star Wars trilogy, that Han Solo and Leia had to be, of course, they couldn't have been together and enjoyed their happy ever after, which, you know, you guys, it doesn't even have to be hearts and flowers every moment of the day. I mean, Han Solo and Leia would have fought all the time, right? And it would have been fine because they loved each other and they would have worked it out. And that's what you do in long-term relationships. That's what, we could call it marriage. It doesn't have to be marriage. It's like committing to somebody. You don't do this thing where it's like, oh, well, of course they couldn't get along. And so she, you know, went to be senator and, lead the rebellion, and he's off dorking around doing whatever he was supposed to be doing. It's like this knee-jerk thing that the writers think they have to do. And one thing that Emily said yesterday at Writer Coffee was that they're all afraid of moonlighting, that they all think that because that's why moonlighting crashed, and moonlighting had way other problems. And that's an old reference if you're not familiar. But, it's this, they have this idea that the whole sexual tension is building up to the push-pull of whether or not the characters will get together. And when they finally do, they panic because they think that there's nothing left to do. And it's like, okay, Nora Roberts has written however many, 54 books of Eve and Rourke, and still going strong, all the sexual tension. Okay, so this is what happens at the end of Lucifer. And I'm partly ranting about this because I've heard other people say that they think it's fabulous, that they think that it's wonderful, that it, I saw one person saying, oh, it just hit all the emotional beats, it wrecked me. And they're saying, oh, it was a good, satisfying ending to the season, series. I hated it. I hated it. Okay, so in the 6th season, what happens is, and if you haven't been watching the series, here's the deal, that Lucifer and Chloe have been dancing around, getting together for, all this time. And they finally get together in season 5. And in season 6, sorry, I'm getting messages. Hang on. Grace replied to me about something. I wasn't sure who it was. At least I'm getting better with that pause button, right? It's almost like I have high production values, except not. Okay, so what happened with Lucifer and Chloe is that in season 6, they're finally together. Everything's great. The whole arc has been about Lucifer overcoming the fact that he is the devil, right? And all of the self-loathing that comes with that. Hates himself for, the series does a great job of drawing on the, celestial angst. So, I'm getting excited here. So, in the 6th season, their 19-year-old daughter shows up, Rory, and she's traveled back from the future because they don't have a daughter yet. Chloe has a daughter from a previous marriage who's like at this point 10 or something. And so Rory shows up, 19 years old, and in wanting to take vengeance on Lucifer. And she says that Lucifer disappeared before she was born, was absent all their lives, and that she had just come from Chloe's deathbed, people, came from Chloe's deathbed to yell at Lucifer and maybe kill him, like she wants to try to kill him because she's so angry. And Lucifer is like, they're blissfully in love with Chloe. And he's like, I wouldn't leave. There's no reason I would ever leave. So most of the season is all about trying to find out, well, him reconciling with Rory, which he does, and that's a nice redemption arc. It's, that's good. Although I kept thinking that Rory was going to turn out to be a fake who was fucking with them. But no. And I never liked Rory. I mean, I wanted to like Rory. I kept trying to. But, they do this thing also in Hollywood where, like, the 19-year-old girl has to be kind of petulant and bitchy. And it was just, I don't know. A lot of her behavior, I thought, didn't make sense to me. Especially given what we find out later. So she knows what date Lucifer disappeared and where it was And they're like, oh, well, the whole solution is for him not to go there on that day. Which, of course, we know as storytellers that he will end up going to that place. They ended up cheating on that slightly. But since I'm doing all the spoilers, he actually makes it through midnight of that day. And then it's in like the wee hours of the next morning. But like Chloe tells Rory after she's born that this is, the other date, August 4th instead of the 5th. So there's that. So they're going through all of this stuff, right? Trying to figure out why would Lucifer leave, and Chloe's having her doubts because he's disappeared before. And so that was good, hitting on that theme of this series that, like when that Lucifer had left a number of times, mostly to try to protect Chloe. So we get to this ending, and yeah, it was dramatic. It was, interesting. It was well done. It was tense. But okay, so here's their solution. This is what had happened, was that Lucifer discovers at the very end what his calling is, because he's all this time he's trying to figure out like what's he supposed to do except be the, like the fallen angel. And he figures out that he could go to hell and that he can actually help people instead of torturing them in their hell loops out of guilt, that he's learned enough to help them, become better people so that they can ascend to heaven. And, so at the end, he's like, this is what I want to do. And over the course of the season, Chloe's found out that she is pregnant. So she's pregnant with Rory. And so then Lucifer says, this is what I need to do. I need to go to hell and do this, resume my role as king of hell. And Rory's like, oh my God, this is why you leave. This is why you left us. And he says, no, it's not a big deal. I can pop back and forth, which he's been doing, people, for the entire fucking series, right? It's always been Lucifer can pop back and forth to hell anytime he wants. He's like, it could be, my day job. Chloe can stay here and be a detective, and I'll, go down and do this stuff in hell and come back and I can be with you guys. And Rory's like, no, you can't do this. You have to do everything exactly the way, because this is how it's supposed to be. And you can't change anything. And she starts to get sucked back into time. And so like her whole thing is she's demanding, saying, oh, you have to do it promise me that you'll do it exactly this way, and it's all right that I grew up without a father, and I forgive you, and all of this kind of thing, right? And it's all about Lucifer's relationship with Rory, who just showed up, right? Unborn. What about Chloe? Chloe's like, oh yes, Lucifer, this is how you have to do it, and you go off. And so Chloe spends the next fucking 20 years alone. She goes through a pregnancy by herself. She raises her 2 daughters by herself, and so they go into this montage of like showing how she's surrounded by her friends. And it's like, they totally act like this love relationship between her and Lucifer is not that important. That's like, oh, well, Chloe will be fine. Sure, it'll suck to be a single mother. I mean, it's like, you guys, those of you out there who know, I've never had to be a single parent. Being, parenting with a partner is hard enough, right? No, Chloe gets to be a single parent just because this is how it's supposed to be. And then, okay, so we sort of montage through, the joyful baby having and all of this. Chloe doesn't get to have her true love for 20 years. 20 years. And, okay, so then we end up at the scene where Chloe is on remember this, her fucking deathbed. Okay, so like Chloe is like 35 in the series. I think the actress is like 35, maybe 40. So plus 19, 20 years. So they have her on her deathbed, in her hospital bed, you guys, she's like 55 or 60, right? I am 55, right? Well, you know, admit it freely. They have her looking like an ancient hag. Okay. All right, she's sick. They never tell us what she's dying from. Lucifer does not come visit her on her deathbed. You know, he, of course, doesn't come. Clearly, she's been sick for a long time, sick and suffering, and she has to do that alone. Then she dies. Rory shows up again and she's like, how did you keep all of that to yourself, Mom? And Chloe's like, oh, because I'm not a suffering martyr. I mean, it was infuriating. I mean, it's like, oh, I guess Chloe has always been a little bit more of a foil character for Lucifer than I like. But this was just beyond, just beyond. So then Chloe dies and she gets reunited with Lucifer in hell. She shows up and they have, you know, she says, I think you need a partner. And so it's like now she gets to have her eternal life with in hell with Lucifer. And we're supposed to be joyful about it. Like this is, you know, I guess, well, those 20 years were a blip. And we've already established that time in hell runs faster. So for Lucifer, it's been thousands and thousands of years. This is their version of a happy after. I'm sorry, you guys. It did not hit the emotional beats for me. I should have known better. Fortunately, I can write my own, right? So this is why we read books, right? This is why the guarantee of the HEA or the HFN, happy ever after or happy for now, is so important to readers of romance. We don't want to be fucked around with like that. So, deep cleansing breaths. I will remind you all that First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts that you love at frolic.media/podcasts. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.